Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Thursday, March 14, 2019. Yes, the 1957 23-foot Lyman Runabout just roared right through a major milestone. As you can see, we have her pretty much assembled. We have 90% of the varnishing complete. All of her interior components, her ceilings, her windshield, etc. have received 24 coats of Pettit high build varnish. All of her hardware has been renewed to show chrome conditions by Mickey Dupuy, D&S Custom Metal Restoration, Holyoke, Massachusetts. Under the engine box, you'll find her original Chrysler M45 Flathead 6 that was completely disassembled. New pistons, every bearing replaced, everything like the crank and the camshaft polished. The engine was completely and comprehensively rebuilt. Everything bolting onto it was disassembled and rebuilt, and all of this work was done by Snake Mountain Boat Works go-to engine builder Robert Henkel, Peter Henkel Incorporated in Marine City, Michigan. Just did a wonderful job. Robert spent a good deal of time researching this boat, researching the color palette used by by Chrysler in putting this engine together, and a follow-up video will show her to you when we run the engine for the first time and do some sea trials and that sort of thing. But it is just the most incredible, almost a military green, not quite flat, but not super shiny. If you remember, this particular 23-foot runabout left Sandusky with a seating configuration whereby there's a single seat back that runs all the way athwart the helm station with two wing doors on each side. Her owners very much wanted additional storage, so we have fabricated John first before we lost him, and then RJ fabricated an entirely new seating configuration, complete with a pair of lockers just aft of the seat backs. The windshield is, for now, just sitting in place. It's been tacked to the coaming on each side for the sake of taking some photographs and doing an update on the video. What lies before us is more varnishing. Yes, the decks, while they look good now, they don't look great. They're not up to our standard. I believe the decks have about 11 coats of varnish on them. The dashboard the same. The coamings presented an interesting challenge because the coaming is secured to the gunnel with wood screws that pass vertically through the coaming and then are plugged. Now, we wanted to build the varnish base on the gunnels before installing the coaming, So we've done that. The coaming's in place. At this point, it has 3 coats of clear penetrating epoxy sealer on it, on each side, but no varnish. So we will be building up that varnish in the coming days and weeks. The foredeck was, well, let's just say it was beyond. And as much as we at Snake Mountain Boat Works abhor replacing original wood, we really had no choice. So we installed new 3/8 inch genuine mahogany ribbon cut plywood. One of the real strengths of this particular Lyman lies in her strakes. The hull of this boat, the hull sides, and these strakes in particular, were darn near perfect, other than they had, you know, the traditional 90 to 100 pounds of paint on them. They really were not deteriorated in the slightest. Below the water line, again, there we probably had 150 pounds of paint applied. The strakes were just in great shape. We had to do a tiny amount of repair to the stem, but just very, very tiny. A couple of small Dutchmen. Our paint of choice for lapstrake boats, be they Lymans or sea skiffs or cruisers, is Interlux Premium Yacht Enamel in semi-gloss white. The white is just, it's brilliant without being super shiny. It gives enough luster that it reflects beautifully on the water, where if we used high gloss, every single little declivity would just jump right out at you and say, look at me, I'm a big mess. So now you can get a better close-up view of the starboard seating, let's call it the seating station at the helm station that John fabricated. We chose not to plate the gear shift. One very interesting challenge we faced was that in changing out the helm seating arrangement, we also took out the step that was originally in the floor right about here. It was a pretty good sized step. Well, that step and that higher level of flooring also affected the positioning of the gear shift. So as we were putting everything together, we suddenly realized that the gear shift simply couldn't function in that position. So, you know, need is the mother of invention. Joe and RJ came up with a solution to anchor the gear shift in a slightly different position. It's still very, very comfortable from the helm station, and it rocks back and forth very nicely. The owner's request, we chose to varnish all of these surfaces, the firewall, the kick panel, etc. And I think they made an incredibly good decision. It is just excellent. So, it's been a long several days, weeks trying to pull this together, but in the end, As I told her owners earlier this week, I think you will have one of the prettiest Lymans there are, if not the prettiest, when she is racing up and down her home lake in Wimberley, Texas. So with that, this completes this milestone update of the 1957 23-foot Lyman Runabout. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.